I want to know what sports betting 101 is. Because if I want to get into betting, especially on the NBA, because that's the only league I trust to bet on for me personally. But what's sports betting 101 as it relates to knowing not only when to go over under, but also just understanding some of the science and the logic behind how that even works for people who are trying to get into it.
Yeah, so for those who don't bet often, who maybe never have bet at all, really quick, small plug though, before I kind of go 101. For those of y'all who may be in the state of Missouri, make sure you vote yes on Amendment 2 to legalize sports betting in the state of Missouri. So I'm not usually one for politics or the government, but when it works in our favor, again, we here for it. So, but the biggest thing that you have to keep in mind is that, one, don't get tripped up by underdogs. And typically with underdogs, anything with a plus in front of that number is usually what is the least likely outcome of the outcomes that you're betting. Now, where that comes to be a little bit more of a science in terms of game-to-game betting, you're going to have a team that's favored. You're going to have a team that's an underdog. In the NBA, if you're betting night to night, it's a little bit tricky to try to see which underdogs to bet and which ones not. You're usually looking at things like the injury report. You're looking at who might be on the second night of a back-to-back versus a team that maybe didn't play the night before, who may have let's say, what's the word I'm looking for? Might be a little bit of a trap game. You might have the Knicks playing a game against the Nets the night before they're supposed to take on the Celtics. Might be looking a little bit ahead that Celtics game, take a loss in the Nets game. So you kind of got to look at some different trends and things like that. Now, when you're talking about futures betting, you're looking for value. And what I mean by that is, for instance, I'll throw this out here now. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but one of the bets that I like for this upcoming season is the Grizzlies to be the number one seed in the Western Conference. Get that at plus 1,200 odds on FanDuel right now. Now, the reason I like that bet is not because I love the Grizzlies, but if we think about the last time we saw the Grizzlies with a healthy Ja Morant and a healthy team around him, they were the second seed in the West, and I feel like the West is worse now than what it was 2 or 3 years ago when they played. And again, plus 1,300 odds now on FanDuel. $10 bet wins you $130. It's worth the risk at that point. Now, you don't want to go too crazy and do things like betting the Rockets to win the number one seed because it is a very low, likelihood that that's going to be what comes your way. But you're looking for value for the futures bets. And then same thing with like your awards betting and things like that. I don't do too much in awards because you can still get good odds on those throughout the season. But like just looking ahead, you think about things like, we haven't had an NBA MVP that's been 30 years or older since Steve Nash won. That's like 15, 16 years ago at this point. Honestly, probably longer than that. He won in 05, 06. Haven't had a 30-year-old MVP since then. You also haven't had an American-born MVP in 6 years. James Harden is the last American-born MVP. So you think about things like that, trends like that, you can kind of start diving into different bets and feel a little bit more confident about what you place.
I didn't even know you could bet on the nationality of the MVP.
So you can't, at least on the sites that you can't bet on the nationality, but you think about what players are now left available and kind of like a process of elimination type of thing. Mm-hmm. You're probably not getting any more MVP awards for guys like Steph, KD, and LeBron. To be honest, at this point, you're probably not getting any more MVPs for guys like Jokic and Embiid. Right now, the kind of one guy near the top that I like, I know Luka's the favorite, but Luka's the favorite coming into every year. You'll probably get Luka at better odds once they go on like a 5-game losing streak at the beginning of the season. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the one that stands out to me right now. Plus 500 on FanDuel. He's got like the third highest odds. I like Shai one because and thinking about trends and things like that. Awards, win totals, you want one thing, and you want a team that is going to take the regular season seriously. We know for a fact OKC is going to try to go out and win games. And if Shai is healthy, he's probably going to be putting up 30 points a night. Usually that's going to lead you to some MVP consideration. He finished second last year. Everybody's kind of talking about OKC as that team that's going to be that next kind of, elite team in the Western Conference. I think it starts with Shai getting the MVP this year.
Yeah, I think he should have won it last year, me personally.
I agree.
I think last year was his year, given their win totals, given his production. And I think I'm personally a fan of Shai because I think Shai is one of those players who nobody expected to be a superstar, but through getting his shot and through his work ethic, he's shown that he is in the elite of the elite. So I think that makes at least me root for him more. I wouldn't say that he got robbed, but I do feel like the award easily could have went his way. And I think because of that, I don't see his production slowing down or him taking any type of a backward step. So I expect him to be in that conversation very much so again this year. So that will be interesting to see. But yeah, Gail, did you have something?
Not to look in the past about my futures, but I think you said a big thing about looking for value, and I think on a game to game betting happenstance where I typically do more of my betting, it's more so looking at matchups, betting on teams that you know. Like, don't go in being like, I've never seen a Rockets game. Let me go bet on the Rockets because I know how they play. Because you don't. If I remember a couple like money locks for me, seeing Grayson Allen on the Bucks, I was like, first quarter over. It was like 4.5 points to like 3 points a game when he was here. Every time we started a game, we are hunting for a Grayson Allen three. So it's like this year, it'll probably be Gary Trent. So if I see a Gary Trent plus first quarter or even first half, like first quarter, I'll look at like 3.5 to 4 points. If he's looking at like 6 in the first half, I'm going to punch that thing every time because we start off with that little Tony Snell dribble handoff to him. Dame's going to have eyes. Giannis going to have eyes. And we have 3-point shooters now that we're going to look to pop it to. And if it's not going to be Brook, it's going to be that starting two guard that's next to Dame. So bet on someone you know, bet on teams that you watch. And then I think, betting early during the season too, before stats look to solidify and they can start to find those averages a little bit more earlier towards the year and also later towards the year when they start to mess with lineups a little bit. They start to play younger guys. They start to, teams are a little bit out of the hunt. They'll start to sit guys or even teams that are in the hunt that need wins. You look at those teams and be like, oh, yeah, they need this win here. So I'm going to punch over on a couple of guys because they're going to play a little bit harder than the team that has the 1-2 seed already solidified in their conference.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. My bad, Josh. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that's actually a great point by Miguel, especially for the night-to-night bettors. You really want to, or I guess I should say you're going to get the best odds possible the earlier you are in the season. So, for instance, we talked about a guy like Shea. If you're betting him to get 30 points in a single game, those odds on the season opener or on like game number 5 are going to be much better than when you get into game 55 and he's averaging 32 for the season. That's going to be a lot harder to kind of boost that payout for you. And then again, to Miguel's point too, like I am not somebody who bets on tanking teams. If I do, it's going to be like a win total under. So my bet with the Blazers last year, very rarely was I putting any of those guys in any of my parlays. Why? Because if I expect them to lose, more times than not, I'm also expecting them to come up short on the stats that they're projected to get. So you just got to kind of keep stuff like that in mind. And then also don't go overboard. If you think, Giannis can go out and score 35 points and get 15 rebounds, probably bet him to get 30 and 12. Just play it safe. Don't go too far overboard at all.
And then also like matchups too. It's like I know Giannis and Spo have a heated rivalry because Spo game plans against him incredibly. So I'm going to take the under when we face the Heat for Giannis 9 times out of 10. He'll get 29, but the over on prize picks is probably 30.5 still. Anthony Edwards versus the Phoenix Suns. I'm going to punch that under every time that man sees the Phoenix Suns because he can't put up 20 against them or he can't put up 15 in the last game of the season. Like I said, we won't focus on the past. And find those favorites. Rest in peace, Killian Hayes. The easy under is gone from the league. Oh, God bless his soul. He gave me so many greens, but he is gone. So now find a new favorite under. Mine for this year, if I had to lock one in, Jeremy Sohan. We have a real point guard now. So now if you see his assist totals are at a certain level, punch that under because that man couldn't throw Victor Wembanyama a lob. So let's find those new unders, those easy greens that you could find game to game. So
speaking of the Spurs, sorry, Ashley. Speaking of the Spurs, just know that Chris Paul assists Victor Wembanyama points probably going to feed a lot of families this season. So
a lot of families.
In mind.
Country. It's good.
We can probably start a food bank with the amount of money we're going to raise off of those bets.
You're making a good point too, like synergy within bets. Don't like bet, Giannis to score I guess bets that go against themselves. So it's like, let's say I'm going to take Victor to have like 6 blocks. I'm not going to take Shangun to shoot better than like 50%. Or, like I'm not, if they're facing each other, because that means he's going to get a lot of shots blocked that game, most likely. So don't bet against the grain, because at the end of the day, you're just fighting yourself.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I see a lot of same game parlay opportunities. So Steve and I touched on duos last pod. What duos this season do you think bettors should focus on when it comes to same game parlay? And if you have any particular duos in mind, what categories should bettors focus on as far as those duos are concerned?
Jalen Brown free throws, Cat 3-point attempts.
Yeah.
If you can find, because they have a free throw makes on Prize Picks, and then Cat's going to be chucking this year because JB is back to the basket guard. If you're really watching how they play,
yeah. No, I like Brunson and Cat. I mentioned Chris Paul and Wemby. Another sneaky one this year, I think personally, is going to be Shay's points with either Hardenstein or Chet Holmgren's rebounds. I'm again, from what I could tell from OKC, they're probably gonna have to play a lot of Holmgren and Hardenstein together. And so I think, again, depending on the matchup now, I think you're probably going to see a lot of outcomes where not only is Shea going off, but you're going to have a slight size advantage for them up front that they may not have had last year.
Speaking of betting tips, bet on someone that's going for a contract year.
Always.
Very
they get paid, you get paid. Simple.
Okay, so last two things on betting. My first, how much should bettors really expect from a payout? Like, are you betting to make bread, like to make buku money, or is this more so just willing to see what hits and see what doesn't? Is it basically in line? Is it basically in line with if you're at a casino and you're playing blackjack or poker or whatever? Is it the same mindset of like, I'm willing to lose X amount of money, so that's a part of what goes into how I place my parlays and bets and things of that nature? Or am I going in like, well, no, I'm trying to hit this amount, so I kind of base my bets off trying to hit set amount of bread that I know I can profit?
Yeah. I got some. This is for one. I will not name names, but I'll say that clip this. You know who I'm talking to. You know where you're at. Stop betting. This man put an AJ Green betting line like every other night, like he's gonna get real tick. Stop betting, sir. And I say sir loosely because it's illegal, first of all, and second of all, you're losing money at a rapid rate. He's got that meme where it's like the dude with the pickaxe, and it's like, oh yeah, if he just would have kept gambling, he would have hit that diamond mine. No. If you are down a certain amount, put it down. We're talking about an addiction as bad as alcoholism, as bad as a crack addiction. This can be bad. This is your disclaimer. If you don't have the funds, don't bet the house. You're going to lose the kids and your wife. Put it away. This is a disclaimer as somebody that has been there where I'm like, I could bet and get my rent. I made that smart decision and I said, no, she'll leave me. So make the smart decision. Stop betting on AJ Green. Put it away. We could cut it out right now. That's all.
That counts. That's gotta count.
That's not a hot take. That is a sane take.
No.
I'm not going to count that as a hot take.
It releases the same endorphins as true addiction. Put it away.
Yeah.
This doesn't count.
It's bad out here. People lose families over gambling. I'm telling you, it gets rough out here. As somebody that's been like, I got 20 in my account. If I just slide 10 no, don't do it. Yeah. It is not worth it.
I don't want to take away from
Miguel needs to sell that PSA to the state of Missouri whenever they legalize betting. Just saying.
Man, I'm selling that to the.
It's going to get very scary in Missouri. But that actually leads to my last question.
Rest in peace, Pete Rose.
I didn't know that was something that was on the ballot. And me and Gil touched on this a while back in terms of whether sports betting was doing more harm than good for the sports industry in general. But with the way that it is now, it's obviously marketed way more. Sports betting is commercialized essentially. I mean, we're seeing multiple sports betting ads in every major sports league, game, throughout their season. It's not something that can be controlled. It's obviously not something that is going away, but is there a way that this can be curbed in any capacity? Is there any way to make this safe, for lack of a better word, if you will?
Well, I think, the sports books have tried, right? They have different things within the app where you can set limits for yourself, whether it be on a weekly or monthly basis. They have all the bet responsibly hotlines depending on what your state is. But I think all in all, it's the same way with whether it be alcohol, crack, whatever. If somebody want it bad enough, they're gonna go get it.
All this keep reminding me.
Crack is crazy.
All this keep reminding me of the Stephen A. talking about Lamar.
Stay off Louise. Yeah, who was on crack?
Hey, Max was like, "Whoa,
Yeah."
Hey, but I mean, for some people, that's how extreme it gets. But my only advice to people out there gambling is know your own financial situation. If you know that you got your last $10 until payday, don't go bet your last $10. If you're getting into it thinking that, okay, I'm just gonna get the payout of a lifetime every time I bet, you're gonna lose a lot of money. So for me, different sports are gonna be bet differently, but like using the NFL, for example, we know the regular season in the NFL is, they play 17 games, it's over the course of 18 weeks. The goal for me is I want to start my account at a certain level at week 1. By week 18, I want to be at this number. So you're kind of keeping track throughout the season of what's going to get me there, what bets have I lost, what bets am I now going to stay away from because I've lost those, and what are we seeing consistently hit. Again, to my point earlier about underdogs, a lot of people take underdogs because those are typically the better payouts, but they're underdogs for a reason. Underdogs don't win every game. So you just got to keep those types of trends and things in mind. Just know your own financial situation. It'll pay off for you in the long.
Yeah. Sounds good. That's all sports betting. If you have any questions after that, you obviously weren't paying attention. But
1-800-GAMBLER, sir. Find that link. Call that hotline.
Real quick.
Is it betting on AJ Green? Oh, hell.
Oh, man.
Call the Amberland. Get him. Oh, they're
That's
saying
free.
This is an outburst.
That's free.
No, these aren't hot takes. These are clippable moments. But there's a difference.